Welcome everybody to the Park Auditorium in the Roy H. Park School of Communications. My name is Mickey Huff. I am the Distinguished Director of the Park Center for Independent Media here, which is one of the only centers of its kind in the country dedicated to the study and celebration of independent media. Started in 2008 with generous support from Adelaide Park Gomer and the Park Foundation, and started with Jeff Cohen Fair. So I'm also a professor of journalism here, and I'm also director of Media Watchdog Project Censored, which is celebrating our 50th anniversary next year, and our 50th anniversary book is out this week. I'm also president of the Media Freedom Foundation, and we've been doing this kind of work around supporting independent media, critical media literacy education for a long time. So I'm very delighted to be here with you today, and thank you all so much for coming out during a Wednesday afternoon to see our amazing special guest that's actually on a national tour. And since I've been very privileged to know our guest today for quite a while, I was able to convince Abby to kind of somehow sneak Ithaca in along the way. As you all know, Ithaca is not exactly in the path of everything, but Abby Martin is here to show her new documentary film, Earth's Greatest Enemy. So thank you so much for being here. Very quickly, a couple things. We have merch over here for Abby Martin, if you want to see that. We're going to show the film, and then we're going to do a Q&A. We do have to be out of this room by 6:45 because there is a class, so we're not going to dawdle too much here in the beginning. We want you to see the film, and we want you all have a chance to talk with Abby Martin. So, in the back, there's information about Project Censored in the Park Center, so please feel free to do that. I'd also like to thank my colleague at the Park Center, Marcy Sutherland, who's in the back, and also Professor Todd Shack here. So, and thank all of you again for coming. So, without further delay, if you're interested, we're going to have Will Potter here next week on the 18th of November at 10 a.m. If you're interested, you can go to parkandmedia.org to learn more. And save the date, the 18th Annual Izzy Award is April 22nd. So I know that's a while, but we will be here back on campus for the Izzy's next year. So, moved by corporate media lies surrounding the Iraq War, Abby Martin started her career as an independent journalist in 2006, founding Media Roots to cover both local and global issues. Her on-the-ground reporting in 2011 from the front lines of occupied Oakland, including numerous police attacks and peaceful demonstrators, propelled her to an international audience. And actually, I've had the pleasure of knowing Abby for quite a long time, including my time earlier on at KPFA. That year, Abby was recruited by RT America as an anchor and quickly gave her own primetime live daily news show, Breaking the Set. It became the network's flagship show and a popular political opinion show watched by millions in the U.S. and abroad. Her work and refusal to follow the editorial control of the network earned her profiles in Rolling Stone and more. Choosing to break ties with RT, Abby left the network in 2014 to create the Empire Files. Over her career, she has interviewed countless heads of state, celebrities, politicians, and academics, produced media garnering tens of millions of views, and made headlines for confrontational questioning of politicians like Anthony Blinken and Nancy Pelosi. Abby's uncompromising style has made her a standard bearer of advocacy journalism and one of the most well-known alternative media figures in the country. Abby remains committed to uplifting stories that expose and educate, and today's film, Earth's Greatest Enemy, will not disappoint. So without further delay, I'd like to introduce to you Abby Martin.
Thank you so much, all of you, for coming out here. Thank you to the Park Center. Just really quickly, 20 years ago now, maybe?
Yeah, that's good.
Project Censored is what really catalyzed and motivated me to become a journalist in the first place. So it is really an incredible honor to be here with Nikki, a dear friend of mine and colleague of mine. I just encourage anyone who's interested in media censorship and media literacy and just documentary filmmaking in general, get involved with Project Censored, get involved with the Park Foundation here. You will not be disappointed. It's my best advice to you. So really quickly, this film is a journey. It was 5 years of my life, especially as things are getting ratcheted up under Trump 2.0. It feels like just telling simple truths about the value we share has never been more consequential, dangerous, and urgent. And the time is now. This is the most important issue of our time. The time is now to coalesce and link all these seemingly disparate issues together and understand who the real enemy is. I'm really excited to hear from you afterward. Enjoy the show. Watch this because our animator spent a year on this, so he'll be mad that I turned it off prematurely, but I know we have limited time, so I wanted to get started. Thank you guys so much. What an amazing experience to be here at Ithaca with all of you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'll do that momentarily. I wanted to thank you, Abby Martin, what an incredible film. And thank all of you for staying to the end of the film. We have about 25, 30 minutes now to have a conversation, Q&A. And what I was going to do is I'll channel my best late grade Phil Donahue and walk around with microphones so that everybody gets, if anybody wants a chance to comment or ask questions, we can hear them. And they can talk to you. So
yeah, let me, can I just say something really quick?
Yeah.
And I think we should take stack, because I do want to give people a chance to check out the merch, because it's really cool. But I just wanted to say really quickly why we decided to make a film like this. I mean, it's so counterintuitive to the way documentaries are made. It's so grand, and it covers such a totality and enormity of two existential crises that no one really wants to face. And it's, right, which is why we made it. We trapped all of you in the room and forced you to watch it. No, I mean, we could have just made a film about climate emissions, and that's exactly what we set out to do, and then every stone unturned was another documentary. It was just like, oh my God, we cannot just start and stop with this, because it's just a portion of the story. And so, as an advocacy journalist, as someone who advocates for causes, who wears my bias on my sleeve, and who's someone who works outside of the mainstream institutions of conventional corporate journalism, I thought, I'm never going to get this seen. I'm never going to get this distributed. I'm just going to do exactly the film that I want to do and tell the story the way I want to tell it in the way that I know how. And that's the way I've always done journalism. And so it's not going to get distributed. It's not going to get on Netflix. It's, we tried to get this to shop around to Hollywood executives and liberals in Hollywood, and they were just like, you're the new Al Gore. This is the new inconvenient truth. But hold on, your Palestine stuff's making us uncomfortable, take all of that down. I'm like, could you want me to start a new identity? Literally my entire life. And then it's like, do you have to call her Earth's greatest enemy? That's really harsh. The military does a lot of good work too. They might have had a meeting with the Internet Media Division too before they taught me, but it's just like, the limitations. The roadblocks you're going to go up against trying to get a film like this out. And that's precisely why the urgency is so dire. We didn't want to sit on this for a year, put it through film festivals. I wanted to use it as a tool. I wanted to use it to wake people up, to motivate and agitate everyone to realize what we're really up against, and to catalyze and coalesce all our movements together so we have a fighting fucking chance.
Thanks to you and Abby for coming here and sharing this amazing work that took so many years for you to put together. And it's based on so much research, most of which comes from the independent press and independent media. So for those of you that came in a little late, I'm Mickey Huff, the executive director of the Park Center for Independent Media and Professor of Journalism here, as well as director of Project Censored. And we actually have covered at Project Censored many of the stories about the military pollution over the years, actually going back to the 1990s. But even though it's been documented, it's not discussed. It's rarely discussed. So it's a very, very powerful collection of how significant that is. And it's really the power of the press, particularly the independent media, that connects those dots. So thank you so much for doing that. At this time, I would like to hear from anybody here. I would like to try and give students opportunities to talk first, if possible, please. I know there's, again, a lot of folks may have things to say, so let's go ahead and get things started. In the back first.
Hi, my name is Mariana Contreras. I am a journalism senior here at Ithaca College, and first and foremost, I just want to say that the whole film and just your messaging is amazing to me. I am someone who didn't even start going to journalism here, and now I'm in a major, and it's very inspiring to see advocacy journalism, which is something that a lot of people would argue is impossible. So I guess I'll narrow it down to two questions. There's obviously a million, but one, have you seen in working in activism, specifically within these subjects, that linking environmental activism and the military or like anti-military activism has brought unlikely groups together, and has it had a positive or negative impact? And two, especially as a author and just, advocacy in general, activism, journalism, it's not easy to keep going, especially when you face a lot of challenges. So what are some things that you do to preserve that momentum or also rest?
Thank you so much. And that's another reason why I'm doing this director's tour, is because I want to bring together all these groups together in a room. I mean, every city that I'm going to, every military town, there's 30 environmental groups that have never sat in a room together. And so I'm the conduit. I'm able to reach out to these people and invite everyone to have a discussion, and it's been incredibly transformative. It's been cathartic, it's been incredible. People are joining groups, organizations, and getting activated. Even people who are forced to come by their professors for extra credit. I don't know how many of you are here. Even like my cousin, who's like a naval officer for 20 years, came up to me before the screening. He came to San Diego and was like, "Hey, cuz, like, I support you and my family afterwards." He's like, "Let's fucking go! Like, I'm ready!" It's just amazing to see the catalyst that this can spark. Your question about how do I keep going? I'm an American citizen. I never had a choice. When I woke up to what my government was doing in my name, I never looked back. And especially bringing two children into the world, I hear all the time from people, "Oh, it's so cute, you'll wake up and grow up one day." Well, I'm 41, so I don't know how much more growing up I can do. And it's just further motivated my radicalism. Actually having children, bringing them into the world, and sorry, this is really distracting. So I just don't have a choice. I will fight with every fiber of my being, as I always have. And what's amazing about it, though, is it's beautiful and it's inspiring, and that's how I met my husband. That's how I brought my family into the world, is through the movement and through meeting people like Vicky. I mean, having an advocacy then and getting involved in like my community and with an international lens has made me have my family and my friends today. And so it's really the love of people and each other, and that keeps me going.
Hi, I'm Viola. I'm also a journalism student, and we have to watch a lot of documentaries for our major, and that was one of the best, maybe the best I've ever seen.
That's amazing! Oh my god.
That's amazing. You kind of mentioned it, but in my opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like one of the most important groups that needs to see this movie, or at least get this information, is people in the military. And I guess I just wanted to hear your perspective on how you can get that information out. Like, I have military people in my family. I would love to show them this, and I want more people to be educated about this kind of stuff since it affects them. But I guess from your perspective, how do we get this movie out there?
Exactly. And so I gotta do all of you. Like, I need a street team. I need people out there hashtagging America's Greatest Enemy, posting photos, going on Letterboxd, writing your own reviews, and really just, it's word of mouth. It's gonna be a viral grassroots initiative. We're gonna put it up online early next year. I'm not quite sure how it's gonna happen. I've talked to some lawyers about the hidden camera stuff with the military brass, but it will be out. And I agree. I think approaching military people with humility and with empathy. Because it's not them. It's not them. It's them. It's not us, it's them. And that's what they've made us think the last, 100 years. So it's really, I can sit down with anyone of any stripe and just talk to them. This is what they're doing. It doesn't matter what religion you adhere to. It doesn't matter what politics you subscribe to. We are all victims of this. And so thank you. Thank you so much for what you said. Thank you.
Hello, thank you so much for being here. My name is Ryan Johnson. I'm a senior journalism major here. And I was just so impressed at you because you traveled to so many different places across the nation, across the country. You talked to so many different people. You really put together a great team for this documentary. And I was wondering, like on the back end about funding for this, years-long project, how, just kind of your process for putting this team together. Making sure you have the funding to do a project this expansive.
A lot of it was grassroots funding. I did a documentary in 2019 called Gaza Fights for Freedom, and it's available online to watch for free. And it was such a grassroots viral success. It never got mainstream accolades or anything. That's not why I do this work. But it did become such a useful tool of radicalization and movement building for pro-health and activism. And I was like, this works. I mean, this is something that can really move mountains, especially in the wake of all the Gaza stuff I see. Every week we're doing screens of that. And I wanted to make this issue kind of the same tool, where you can sit and have a one-stop shop and learn a little bit of everything about this. But to your point, I mean, we launched the idea, we had the idea because we had seen it just floating around academia, that the US military was a larger polluter than 140 countries, and we didn't really know what that meant, and when you unpack it, it's just so gargantuan. So of course, people were really interested in connecting these issues, and so we got about $100,000 in the beginning with kind of that launch, and we just kept going. I mean, the donations kind of tapered off after a while, because we were like, you're still working on this? It's been 5 years, why are we still getting paid on it? But no, we consistently did like other journalism while we were doing this film, and I was doing constant interviews and podcasts and all that, just like constantly, because it's just so competitive and it's so insane the way alternative media works that it's not really sustainable. But luckily I had built up a little bit of a base and continued to do work to continue to get funds throughout the process. But what I think is a really other interesting facet is that it didn't feel like a movie until about a year ago. It felt like 20 stories. And I was like, how the hell are we going to put this together? And then it just naturally came to get together. And I think that current of the Iraq War kind of haunting every story. And then the backdrop of Gaza, that was the hardest part for me this is like a snapshot of the Biden administration. I mean, that's how much worse it's gotten. And so to edit this film while I'm like watching the genocide every day, and to just think like that's how much work. This is what happens when we don't hold criminals accountable. This is what happens when the empire can run across the world and we don't stop it. And what's next? And this is what we're seeing now. What's next? But another point, because there's so many journalism students here, and it's so incredibly inspiring to sit here with you and hear from you, is the access to journalism. I mean, I lived in DC for 5 years, and just the fact that you get into these spaces, it wasn't hard. You just apply. And I'm like, why is no one else doing the bare minimum job? Why is no one else asking the bare minimum questions? Going on RIMPAC, and I'm sitting there with defense reporters. There's like a whole apparatus and extension of the military industrial complex, Defense One, Air Force One, and they just sit there and revel of how cool the weapon systems are. I mean, it's mind-blowing. So anyway, sorry, I can go on and on. He's like, let's go, thank you.
Yeah, hi, my name is Kari Golden. I'm a sports media major, journalism minor. Seeing a documentary like this was so inspiring because I feel like I aspire to try to tell stories that are this big in documentary form. So seeing something like this that covered so much in a pretty short 2 hours was a lot, and I really enjoyed it. I was gonna ask a two-part question, but your last part there kind of took that out of my mouth because I was gonna ask, how many other reporters have you seen even attempt to ask questions like this of people at these places, since you can clearly just go to Impact or go to like AFA and all of these different summits with all of these people who are high up in military, and have you ever seen anyone else even try to ask these questions? But I mean, I see the answers now. But beyond that, how have you seen the reporting you've done over the years get any pushback? I know through this we saw some of the military, as it comes to protests and the ways that they deal with that. Have you seen ways that your your reporting has seen pushback? Have you seen any attempts, maybe not in your life, but threats received? Because as we see on people who do independent journalism on things that aren't supposed to be covered, they end up in danger. They end up with that guy in Australia who's had his house bombed. Have you ever really been in that kind of danger, or have you even?
Well, in America, I know that they've obviously what happened in Chile Song was completely insane and totally unmatched, and that was clearly meant to set a chilling effect. But what they do here is very unlike, places in Palestine. They systematically murder journalists alongside their entire families. Here, they do something a little differently. I don't know how much longer the First Amendment applies to adversarial journalism. Maybe not much longer, but right now they just smear, ridicule, and lambaste you as a Russian agent, a conspiracy theorist. They'll just kind of remove your ability to tell these stories on different platforms. So like my Wikipedia page is like, you think I'm a lunatic, because it's just all, it's deliberately scaled to make it seem like I am, a person you should not think is trustworthy. And it's all sourced by corporate media, who's subsidized by defense contractors and banks and oil companies. So it's insanity. It's insanity. And so that's why, Mickey can speak on this all day, but that's why we have to carve our own spaces. But that's what they do. That's how they discredit journalism here. But of course, Israel has tried to do a number of things to threaten me and things like that. But as long as my brothers and sisters are getting killed for their journalism, I will not stop doing this. This is.
Hello, I'm Sean, sociology major. It seems like in this moment now, there is like more frustration with imperialism and its consequences than in previous American history, and also a distinct lack of democratic responsiveness on these issues. Just wondering, in your experience, what your outlook is on institutional reform given these circumstances.
I think the Democratic Party is at an end. I think the last election did not prove that, and I don't know what will. I mean, good God. Genocide, the necessity for some sort of economic populist revolution has never been more apparent. I don't, half the country, 70% of the country is living paycheck to paycheck, and trillionaires have gained, the billionaires have gained like $4 trillion in the last 4 years. So the more they're competing over the media, when I first started this work, it was already so bad. It was like 5 corporations control 90% of everything you see here and read, and it's like every single day now Ellison's taking over, Barry Weiss is running CBS. It's really insane, and I don't think it's going to get better. And we see the incubation of the far right was caused by the Democratic Party. It is. They're not going to stop it. They're not going to stop it. They don't have solutions for it. And so we have to work outside of the system. Look, voting every 2 to 4 years, of course, is literally the least you can do. But I think investing energy and time into electing candidates within the Democratic Party. Look, Mamdani, I think, is a great success, but I don't think that's replicable. Unless you have like ranked choice voting across the country. In my city, Portland, Oregon, somehow DSA took over the city council. It's awesome because we have ranked choice voting. But I just think the electoral system and the dog and pony show is insanity to continue to invest in. We have to work outside of that. We have to collectively figure out how to do that.
In class, we talk a lot about a growing distrust in like government and media institutions, and I was just like wondering what your thoughts on that are for like the future of like journalism and activism in general.
I mean, critical view of literacy has never been more paramount. It is so creepy, especially with the advent of AI, deepfakes, Sora. I mean, it's very disturbing that you no longer can discern what you're even looking at. Like, not even what can you unpack as fact and fiction. Like, what do you even see now? And then the way that lies circulate. Look at the 40-day babies. That's the narrative. It was a complete lie. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. Look at the fires in LA. You would think that would wake people up to climate change, but instead it was DEI, it was woke firefighters, it was it doesn't even matter. Look at Tyler Robinson, it doesn't even matter who killed Charlie Kirk. It's Israel, it's the left, they're going to do whatever they want as a result, and we're all fighting with each other, we're sparring over a consensus of even what reality is. Like, we all agree this is a chair, this is a floor, and I don't even know anymore. So it's gotten really hard, especially in again, the backdrop of genocide, not only to have to come to terms with a contingent of society that's genocidal and doesn't care if babies die, you have to kind of let a lot of things go. I don't know if people are reachable, but I do think the majority of people are. And so it's getting back to that foundation. What is reality? What are our shared values? It doesn't matter, coming with empathy. We all breathe this air. We drink this water. We have to understand how to root out complete disinfo. I mean, the people, there's so many psyops too. So I don't have the answer to that. I do the journalism that I believe in, and I tell people follow the journalists that you trust, that have done the work. Jeremy Scales one, Chris Hedges. I try to have integrity, and I don't know. I mean, unfortunately, under capitalism, a lot of people just try to make money, and it's very griftery. So it's very hard to even follow people who are trustworthy and doing this for the right work. So it's just about critical media literacy. Following people like Project Censor, maybe have the work being done here to understand how to navigate this increasingly insane schizophrenic media landscape.
I'd add to that, Abby, if you want to see a stellar list of independent journalists that are very trustworthy, go out and look at the Izzy Award wall, for one, and two, the top censored stories every year. 50 years next year for Project Censored, that's 1,250 stories. These are independent journalists and people that, if you don't know where to go, that's a great place to start. So thanks for saying so.
Project Censored, honestly, is, it's not even, it's a conglomerate of journalists and they're all doing work right there. That's really the one-stop shop. It is Project Censored.
Hi, my name is Lillian. I'm a junior documentary studies and production major and an aspiring investigative journalist. So your project and your conversation are very, very deeply inspiring to me. So thank you for being here. I'm curious with a project this big that's taken this many years. Really, the same kind of question of just, when do you know when to put it down? It continues to evolve and it's happening today. And it's been a 5-year project, so why didn't it become a 6-year project? Or when did you know when to put it down?
I think when I knew, I mean, it was really hard because, of course, it's like the Trump administration. You almost want it to be timeless, but at the same time have this kind of time capsule where you see it start during Black Lives Matter. I go through 2 pregnancies, and it's almost just like you could continue to do it, but I almost wanted it to be that time capsule of like, this is what the status quo is. It's not, you could, I mean, look at Trump, of course, we could have just been like, and now Trump, like, climate change is a hoax, like the world's on fire, this guy, I mean, it's absolutely insane, this cartoon dictatorship, but at the same time, it's like, no, this is when you're at brunch. This isn't Trump. This is Biden. This is the status quo. This is global capitalism. So that's what we need to wake up to. But that's when I knew I had to stop. I couldn't keep going. I just had OCD and I'm like, no, we gotta get every second, we gotta, and I just like, I have to just, like a bird, like a baby bird, just get the fuck out of there. Because I'm like, we don't have time to waste, the world's on fire. Trump is president now. Holy shit. We gotta get this out there.
So I will say I absolutely have to agree that was one of, if not the best documentaries I've ever watched. Can't see it, but my crutch is currently under the seats. I'm a disabled person, and as a disabled person, I face a lot of problems with people being really individualistic, thinking about the things with climate change, because some plastic is necessary for people who have health concerns. So I was curious how you would recommend approaching people and conversations where their only model that they have ingrained in them is individualistic approaches to reducing carbon emissions.
This is why I did it. I mean, it is exactly why I did it, because I was so sick of this individualistic approach, the intentional approach sold to us by capitalism. That it's us, that it's paper straws, that it's driving hybrids, that it's you. It's them, man. They did this to us, they set the laws, they're using styrofoam and plastic on everything, and they make us feel guilty when we go to sleep. Because, and I'm a militant composter, like just ask my husband, he doesn't get anything by me. But still, it's like, I do my part, you can do your part, but you can still have the consciousness that that's a drop in the bucket. It's a drop in the ocean. Why do I know about Jack Japanese way, and I don't know about the Holocaust on females that my own government's perpetrating on a daily basis. So it's just this consciousness that needs to be completely uprooted and turned upside down. And it can start with the individualism. Oh my God, that's so great that you care about this. I do too. Did you know that the US military is the largest consumer of fossil fuels on the planet? That's how you start.
Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, which is normal role for me. We only have time for a couple more quick questions because we need to be out of this room by 6:45.
What time is it now?
It's 6:35.
Okay, and why don't, can we?
We're going to, just a minute, we're gonna, I know you have things over here for people to see and merge and stuff, so we're gonna do one more question really quickly. And you can stick around afterwards and you can talk to Abby, and if we need to leave the hall, we're gonna go outside. We're gonna go that way and around the corner to what's called the Park Lounge, and we can talk to you there for a bit. So again, I'm sorry that we're on a limited time, but I'm also very glad that there's so much interest.
Hi there. My name is Sonia. I'm a junior journalism student here, and I'm also from Ukraine. So I think it was an extremely great movie. I think it was so interesting how you kind of you were really great at navigating between political and personal. So my question, I guess, was I feel like as a journalist myself, and I did write for independent media as well, it was really hard for me to kind of navigate between like the empathy and how much you were taking over like all those feelings. So I guess my question is, how did you navigate that? Because those are very difficult stories, and I think it's very important as a journalist.
I've always had a lot of, like if people who watch my interviews, sometimes I actually just cry because I just can't help it, especially talking about Gaza. It's really tough, especially becoming a mom and having kids, and the wholesale slaughter of so many children in Gaza has been really, really tough for me as a journalist to report on something so personal to me. But I think that it's rewarding. I don't want to see journalists with stone cold demeanors talking about it's just like weird. For me, it feels tough because I'm so impacted by what's happening. I relate more to someone who maybe has like outward empathy or compassion, or who is really, really invested in these stories. And I know that they are connected to these stories. They're not just a disaster tourist journalist where they go and report on the aftermath of like a horrific thing and they just go to the next thing. Like we spend time and we get to know these people, and that's what we fight for, and that's what we do this for.
So we are about out of time, and I apologize to the few people that still wanted to talk to Abby, but you are invited to please come up here and see Abby. There's information on the table about Project Censored in the Park Center for Independent Media, as well as Code Pink. Code Pink is also here as one of our co-sponsors for the event today. So I want to thank all of you very much. Please give a big round of applause for Abby Martin. Thanks again, everybody, for being here. And again, I apologize if we didn't get to everybody, but thank you so much for coming. If you come down and see Abby.